you'll know that Back to Church Sunday is a national event that's going on all around the country. It's a specific opportunity for us to invite people to come back to church, and that's really all there is to it. It's that simple. I've been looking at some resources from the National Back to Church Sunday website, and one of the things they suggest is that you do ordinary church, but with a little bit of added sparkle. I was kind of wondering that maybe, if our church really needed the extra sparkle. We were looking at some old clips, and I'm not convinced we need that. So we're thinking that maybe the extra sparkle isn't necessary, we'll just stick as we are. But we did think that Ryan perhaps needed a bit of extra sparkle, so we liked him like that. Anyway, Sally did a fantastic job last week of telling us what the purpose of church was and why we should come and why we should invite others, so I'm not repeating that, but if you didn't see it, it's really worth a look. You can find it on the website that Chris does, or you can find it on our Facebook page, so it's there if you want to watch it. So I've been left with the practical stuff, so this is a rather practical talk. I've broken it into 3 sections. The first section is the invitation. The next section is creating a welcoming atmosphere. And the final part is being a host, not a guest. So that's the 3 things we're going to be looking at. So going on to the invitation. I don't know if you're very good at inviting people to church, but I'm not. And you're in good company because they reckon that 95% of people rarely or never invite people to come to church. 5% are serial inviters and will keep doing it all the time, and I'm not going to talk to you just now, I'm going to talk to the other 95%. If I am going to invite somebody to church, the reason I will tend to do that is for a special event, or a specific event that they will like. So I might invite somebody to come to a carol service, I might invite somebody who I know likes some quiet to come to my Good Friday meditation. I might invite somebody who likes a lot of chaos to come to the Ice Bucket Challenge Sunday. I would choose a particular thing and think, actually, that would really suit that person, and I might invite them. Back to Church Sunday gives us the chance to invite people to a specific event. It's much easier than just saying, do you fancy coming to church? There's this event going on, it's Back to Church Sunday. Do you fancy coming? And to make it even easier, we've even got invitations. This Back to Church Sunday event also gives people who want to go to church, but who for whatever reason have got out of the habit of going, the chance to come back. It's a good opportunity to say, hey, it's Back to Church Sunday this week, you haven't been for one, do you fancy coming back again? It's a good reason to. One way to go about doing this is to think about somebody you want to invite, pray about it, and then invite them. It's really that straightforward. And you can choose anyone to invite. Jesus gave invitations to some of the most despised people in society.
Once again, Jesus went out beside the lake. A large crowd came to him, and he began to teach them. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting in the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," Jesus told him. And Levi got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him and his disciples, for there were many who followed him.
You don't have to choose somebody as despised as a tax collector, and in fact we used to know a tax collector who came to church who was really quite nice. You can invite someone normal. A lot of Jesus' followers were fishermen, you know, they were normal people. In one of Jesus' parables, it's about a wedding feast, and the invited guests refused to come. So the servants were instructed to go out and just invite anybody they met to come to the banquet. It says that they went out onto the streets, they brought in everyone they could find, good and bad alike. So just invite whoever you feel like. You might want to think about how you'd like to invite them, but you don't want to overthink it.
You can do this, man. No, I can't. Yes, you can. It's just church. You can invite him. Just do it. What's the worst that could happen?
Hey, Roger.
Oh, hey, Paul.
I was wondering if you wanted to go to church with me and my family this weekend.
You think we're a pack of wild heathens that need Bible learning and churching and saving? Is that it? No hable inglés. Oh, I'm an atheist. So actually, I'm wondering if you want to come to my house and do nothing with me this weekend. Sam, code red.
Sam?
Good job, sweetie. Get yourself a goat.
Come on. Seriously, you've got to snap out of this. Just invite him. Oh, but what if I say the wrong thing?
You, church, Sunday or else. You smell like sin.
Will you go to church with me?
It's Communion Sunday. Free crackers. Come to church with me, you will.
I'll never go to church with you.
Okay, now that that's out of your system, quit being silly. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Hey, Roger.
Hey, Paul.
You need a hand?
Actually, I think I got it. What's up, man?
Well, I don't know if you have any plans this weekend or not, but Christine and the kids and I would love it if you and your family came to church with us.
Wow. We've actually been thinking about attending someplace. We just hadn't decided where. Yeah, I think that'd be fun. Yeah, that would be spectacular.
Just be relaxed. Invite somebody with confidence. Just do it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for you if they say yes or if they say no. That's between them and God. Okay? You are a success if you have invited somebody. Yeah? Be relaxed and don't worry about whether they say yes or no. That's up to them. Don't feel that pressure. Just relax. Ask them, see what they say. Everybody's on a spiritual journey. You know, they might be stuck in the long grass somewhere and your invitation could just open up a gate and a pathway that they can see, yeah, to carry them on, to carry them forward. And if they don't choose to go down that path for now, that's okay. That's not your responsibility. Okay? I think we're going to skip the next video, actually. If they say yes, there are a few practical pointers. The first one is, if you've invited somebody, it would be really good if you turn up yourself. Okay? The second point would be that if you've invited somebody, it would be good if you turned up before them. Okay? So if you normally kind of drift in at about 10 past and grab a cup of coffee and sneak into the back, and you've invited somebody, maybe try and turn up about 5:02 instead. I think that if you go somewhere new, you tend to turn up about 5 minutes early, not late, because you're a bit worried about turning up on time. So they will probably turn up on time. Even better, you can just meet them somewhere or pick them up if you're driving through so that you actually turn up at the same time, and that would be great. So let's assume that somebody who's been invited from one of you has decided to come. Our experience tells us that they always do, from having done this for a few years. So now we need to think about creating a welcoming atmosphere. Now I think that we're actually pretty good at that in this church, but visitors make a decision about whether they're going to come back again within about 5 minutes. So what happens when they first come in is actually really, really important. But like I say, generally I think people think there's a real buzz about this place when they walk in, so I think we do quite well. But we should just make sure that we do it particularly well next week. In Deuteronomy in the Old Testament, the Jewish people are instructed to love the strangers because they were once strangers in Egypt. We should love the people who come in who are new, that we don't know. And in Romans 15 verse 7 it says, "Therefore welcome one another as Christ has welcomed you, for the glory of God." We want to be welcoming. It's biblical to be welcoming to people. So we just need to be the best welcome that we can be. We could just leave this to Paula. It's her team's turn. So it's her responsibility, and the rest of us could sit back and not worry. But I think it would be really nice if we gave her a hand. I know that there are some people who are great cake makers in this church, and I think it would be really nice if there might be some cake coming. Does anybody fancy bringing some cake next week? No. Yay! So, there we go. With some cake volunteer. If you don't feel like making cake, but you kind of think, actually, I don't mind buying some. You know, if Cecile turns up, you know she always turns up with bags full of donuts. You know, bring something that's bought. That's okay too. But it would be really nice if we had a good welcome for people when they came in. The other thing I like about being here is that we get coffee at the start. And I think that's something that really helps relax people, because most places we come into in the UK, you get given a cup of tea or coffee, don't you? It's a homely thing, it's a welcoming thing. And also, it puts people at their ease because they've got something to hold on to. Yeah, they've got something to do with their hands, and they've got something to talk about. Oh, the coffee's really nice here, or, oh, do you happen to have one of those funny fruit teas? Or, you know, there's something to say, yeah, which just helps, again, to break the ice. I think that most people's expectation of church is that they're going to get a weak cup of coffee and a stale custard cream after the service. So if we can provide them with something that's better than that, we'll be doing a good job. Jesus' first miracle is to help a host. So if we would be helping Paula, we would be doing well. This is what it says in John chapter 2.
3 days later, there was a wedding in the village of Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there. Jesus and his disciples were guests also. When they started running low on wine at the wedding banquet, Jesus' mother told him, "They're just about out of wine." Jesus said, "Is that any of our business, Mother? Yours or mine? This isn't my time. Don't push me." She went ahead anyway, telling the servants, "Whatever he tells you, do it." 6 stoneware pots were put there, used for the Jews for ritual washing. Each held 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus ordered the servants, "Fill the pots with water," and they filled them to the brim. "Now, fill your pitchers and take them to the host," Jesus said. And they did. When the host tasted the water that had become wine, he didn't know what had just happened, but the servants, of course, knew. He called out to the bridegroom, "Everyone I know begins with their finest wines, and after the guests have had their fill, brings in the cheap stuff. But you've saved the best till now."
Just as a little aside, I love the beginning bit of that, where you can see the family drama taking place. Can you not just imagine that going on? I can really imagine that in my family. I can imagine Jesus standing there, rolling his eyes and saying, "Mom!" And can you not imagine a mother as well, just kind of, "Go on, you just do it. Go on, I know you can. She'll do it. Don't worry." You know, I can imagine being like that. So yeah, I just like that bit of family drama going on. Anyway, back to the point. We've got some rather good coffee here, and people like to have that coffee. So you know, that's a nice thing that we can do. Anyway, we'll move swiftly on to the last point, which is being a host and not a guest. Last weekend we were really busy. We moved Rebecca up to London, and she's settling in fine, by the way, and really enjoying it. But we also went to a wedding. We've got to that time in life where most of the weddings we go to are now our friends' children, or even our children's friends. So, but they're all youthful and joyful, and it's lovely. So it was Rebecca's friend's wedding last weekend, and we were there very, very much as the guest. As we were queuing up for the great, for the bridal procession, as we were queuing up for when you greet the bride and the groom and everybody at the end, the bride said, "Who are you?" You know, we were that unimportant that she didn't know who we were. You know, and it's like, I was thinking, well, how do I describe who I am? And then the groom says, "They're Rebecca's parents." It's like, okay, that's where we slotted in. We were Rebecca's parents. We were not important in any way. We were just a guest. Okay? And I had no responsibility for anything at all. And it was really, really lovely. And I've been thinking about what made it a good experience for me as a guest. And how it relates to our, you know, what we can, the experiences we can give to people coming here as guests. So firstly, it was about the welcome. I came to the door, there were smiling ushers, they were obviously standing there to guide me in. It was a bonus I even knew one of them, and once it was established we were on the groom's side, they could direct us to where we needed to go. We were told the area to sit in, we were given an order of service, and here, when we come in, I noticed even today, when we come in, it can get a bit crowded at that entranceway and a bit difficult for people to come in. So I would suggest that if you're a regular here, when you come in, come right in, grab your tea and coffee and move out of the way. You know, if you want to hover, go and stand in the garden if the weather's nice, or come down to the front of it, but leave the space at the entranceway clear so people can come in. So, if we make some space there, we've got the cake counter which people can go to and hopefully get some yummy cake. And if someone's looking lost, anybody here can say, "Oh, would you like to come and sit down?" It doesn't have to be one of the welcome to. We can all invite people to come and sit down, show them to a seat. It can be difficult if you're new to come right in and have a look about. Okay? So we can all do that welcoming thing. Now we come to the seats. The seats at this church were really good. It was a big old church, but they'd replaced the pews with nice, wide, soft, comfortable seats. And I really, really wanted seats like that here. But the more pragmatic people in our family kind of said they wouldn't fit in, we wouldn't have enough space. But they were lovely. They were comfortable. Anyway, on the seat matter then, if you're here next week as a host, not a guest, then there might not be much space. There wasn't much space this morning, was there? So can I encourage you to move right in? If you're fit and able-bodied, maybe even just hover around somewhere and actually don't take a seat till towards the end. And leave the seats, particularly at the back, for the guests. New people really, really don't want to sit right at the front. Yeah, so if we could try and leave those seats at the back for people coming in, and if you're bringing somebody in, you know, sit with them, obviously. You know, don't think, okay, I'll sit down and then I'll go and hover somewhere else. You know, stay with them. But, you know, let's leave the space at the back for the people who are guests, who don't know what they're doing, who might feel a bit uncomfortable. Okay. So when the wedding service started, there are a few things I really like. The first one, there was really clear instructions from the front. You can take photos the whole way through the service, except for when the vows are taken. Any other time, you're free to take photos. We love confetti here. Throw as much as you like. The songs are on your piece of paper and also on the screens. We knew what was going on. And I think that people like to know what's going to happen, because then it's less scary. So sometimes if I speak to somebody new, I might say to them, oh, this is what generally happens in our church. It's a bit flexible, so it might not be exactly like that, but we generally have a lot of music at the beginning, then the children go out and we have a talk, then we might have communion. And, you know, just run through a little bit of what's going on so they've got an expectation. After the wedding, we were told there were photos in the local park and nibbles and drinks in the hall. As we weren't that important, and we weren't really going to be in many of the photos, we thought we'd go and head to the nibbles and drinks first. But this woman bars our way, and obviously the wrong instructions had been given, and we weren't supposed to do that. So I didn't say that we were trying to get the nibbles and drinks. I kind of said, oh, we were just heading to the toilet. So, you know, it can be a bit embarrassing if you're giving the wrong information. So just try and be relaxed with people, tell them what's going on. And if they say, oh, can I get a cup of tea? Maybe take them to get a cup of tea, because you can ask the person behind the counter, whereas they might feel a bit, is this the right time to get a cup of tea? I don't know. You know, just help people along. Yeah? So anyway, I think I've probably stretched this wedding analogy as thin as it will go, and yeah, you can probably see the bright sunlight through it. So anyway, I think the key job of a host is to look after the guests. And Jesus shows us how to be a great host, how to be the ultimate host. He's the one who washed his disciples' feet. He turned the water into wine at the wedding, even when he was supposed to be a guest. So in conclusion, I think our goals for next week are firstly to invite people, secondly to create the right atmosphere, and thirdly to be the best hosts we can. And these are all ultimately about expressing love and sharing what we've found. 1 Corinthians 16 verse 14, tiny little verse, says, do everything in love. That's what it's about. And Romans 10 says,
as the scriptures tell us, anyone who trusts in him will never be disgraced. Jew and Gentile are the same in this respect. They have the same Lord, who gives generously to all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. But how can they call on him to save them unless they believe in him? And how can they believe in him if they've never heard of him? And how can they hear about him unless someone tells them? And how will anyone go and tell them without being sent? That is why the scriptures say, how beautiful are the feet of messengers who bring good news.
So, this week, aim to succeed. If you invite somebody, you've succeeded. Whatever the answer is. Succeed in getting here early next week if you have invited someone. Maybe with a cake. And in straying a little bit from your comfort zone to allow the best seats for our guests. Bring your best smile and help to bring the good news. As we've heard, we're even promised beautiful feet if we do it.